Should you start taking your Social Security benefit early at age 62 if you're still working? Now, there are a lot of good reasons to take your Social Security benefit early at age 62, but one of the biggest reasons not to do it is if you're still working or if your income is too high. In this video, we're going to look at how different income levels affect what you'll actually be able to put in your pocket if you are claiming your Social Security benefit at age 62. If your income is too high, you're going to be receiving a lot less than you expect when it comes to claiming that Social Security check early. The two things that play a role in reducing your Social Security benefit are one, taxes, and two, withholding. The purpose of this video is to help you understand, based on your income level, if it makes sense for you to start claiming Social Security now or wait until after you're done working or until 67 or even later. So let's jump over into this calculator. We'll run some real world examples, give you a better idea of how these things are calculated so that you can run them for your numbers. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is talk about withholding. So right here we have a situation, a setup. We'll work with a single filer to start. Let's call him John. And we'll see that John is able to get $2,000 per month from Social Security. And over here on this chart, this just shows each month how much he's receiving over the course of the year with the total on the top. Now, in this scenario right here, John he's not working at all and doesn't have any other forms of income. And so down here on this income slider, you can see that he is in the tax-free zone. So he's going to receive all of that Social Security. Now let's see what happens if John, in fact, was working. And let's see if he was making $30,000 per year, how that affects the withholding and the taxes. So let's start with withholding. Withholding is based on a threshold of $24,480 per person. And these are 2026 numbers. So whenever you're watching this video, those numbers might have changed. But for now, that's where it sits. Any dollar above that threshold, 50 cents of each dollar, or in their terms, they say one of every $2, and that's how much Social Security they're going to withhold. So in this case, John making $30,000, he's making $5,520 beyond the threshold. So $5,520 divided by 2 is $2,760. That is the amount that is going to be withheld from his Social Security checks. So it's $1 for every $2 above the threshold. So take all of the money above $24,480 divided by 2, and that's the withholding amount. And so how that comes out of your benefit is in the beginning of the year. They will withhold your Social Security benefit until that amount has been reached, and then they'll continue sending checks. So for John, his January check is totally withheld. He doesn't receive it. He will receive this money at age 67. That's why they call it withholding. So they're not taking it from you forever. They will give it back to you, but they're just holding it back for now. And then his February check is partially fulfilled. And then the rest of his checks will come in full. And so you might ask the question, how do they know how much you're going to make over the course of the year in order to withhold it in the beginning of the year? And what if my income changes? And that's valid. At the beginning of the year, you're going to forecast what you think you'll be making. If you get a raise or something changes in your situation and your income looks like it's going to be different than your forecasted amount, you'll want to update that. And then come end of the year, if it wasn't quite right, there's no harm, no foul, everything will get evened out and you'll settle up with the government just like you would with taxes. All right, so we have withholding covered for John. Let's look at what he may stand to owe in taxes on his Social Security income. So to do this, we start with an income calculation, but it's different than a normal income calculation. For their purposes, they're looking at a few specific things. So one is wages or any self-employment income. Pension payments count. Also, any withdrawals from retirement accounts count as income. Interest and dividends, of course, but even tax-exempt interest. So any tax-free municipal bonds will also count as income for their purposes here. And then on top of that, 1/2 of the Social Security that you expect to receive will also count as income in this one big bucket. So for John, let's just run a number. Let's just say John, on top of his active income, he also has $10,000 of other income. So between his Social Security, his wages, and his other income, he's coming in at a total of $50,620. How that works for him is that puts him into the upper bracket for taxation. So that's the 85% zone. For a single filer, if your income is above $34,000, 85% of your total Social Security benefit will become taxable, and it'll be taxable at your income rate. If John had less income or maybe earned less money and he was in between 25 and 34,000, in this zone, all the dollars above 25,000 would be taxed 50%. So it's not a 50% tax, but 50% of the dollars would be taxed at his current income tax rate. And then, as we said before, if he was below 25,000, he would have no tax on this Social Security. So that's for a single filer. For a married couple, it's split into two when it comes to the withholding. So each spouse has their own Social Security benefit, and they also have their own active income. And so when it comes to calculating withholding, those are done separately. And that's why one strategy often, if you have one spouse working and one not, is the one that's not employed may decide to take their Social Security benefit early, and the one that is still working might decide to delay it until they were done. But let's just set up a scenario here to see how that might look. So if you weren't working, you might decide to take your Social Security benefit early. Let's just say that you had $2,000 a month. Your spouse is still working, and so they're going to forego taking their Social Security benefit. So your active income here is 0. And let's say your spouse makes $100,000 per year. For the withholding side of things, their active income does not affect your benefit, so nothing is withheld. But when it comes to taxation, it all goes into one bucket. So their active income, as well as all the other income, including half of your Social Security benefit, gets dumped into the same income bucket for you as a couple. And we're seeing 132,000 as the total household income here. And so that's going to decide how your benefit gets taxed. And in this case, the tax would be roughly $3,000 on your $2,000 a month benefit. So that illustrates for you one scenario in where if you are actively working and your income is fairly high, it might make sense to delay taking that benefit. It's very situational and depends if you're single, it depends if you're married. But understanding how the withholding is calculated differently from how the taxes are calculated can get you a lot closer to estimating what is the number you'll actually be able to put in your pocket and when does it make sense to start taking that benefit. This is important when it comes to deciding and strategically planning your retirement. There are a lot of great reasons to take your benefit at 62. Keep in mind, if you are working, that how much you make, your income level does play a big role in if it makes sense to take that benefit early. And so if this was money that you didn't necessarily need for living expenses, it was just going to be invested or tossed in a bank account, that might be a situation where you consider delaying it if it wasn't an imminent need right now. At 67, the withholding rules go away, but the tax situation stays the same. So really, when you're thinking about taking your benefit early at age 62 and you are still working, have active income, the withholding is the real big calculation that can play a role in your decision here. If you have some more questions or you want to run through your specific situation, you can reach out to us at pasnaw.com. That's PASNAU.com. My name is Ben Edmond. I'm a certified financial planner here in Connecticut. And if you want to email me as well, my email is ben@pasnawinvestments.com. I'll put the link to our website as well as my email in the description below. And I appreciate you watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.